people, and welcome to a new video. In this video, I am going to be talking about routers. Now, previously, I talked about switches, and we learned about the job of the switch and how does the switch work. And today we're going to talk about the router. So before we get into the configuration of the router, let's just talk about the job of the router. Now, this area here that I'm going to highlight is what we call a local area network. And in the local area network, all your devices are basically connected to a switch, and the switch has the responsibility to get all these devices connected. Now, of course, we want to connect to other devices beside the devices that we have in our local area network. For example, imagine you're playing a video game and the server is hundreds of miles away from you, which is like the one that I see here at the top corner. So how can you get your computer to be connected to that server? This is where the router is going to come to play a major role. Now, in reality, we do have a lot of routers between your local area network and that server destination, a lot of routers between them. But what's going to happen, and this is what I'm going to be focusing on in this class, the moment your computer here is going to realize that, oh, the server that I'm trying to get connected to is actually not connected to this local area network directly, your computer is going to realize that I need to send any request or any data to the router, and the job of the router is to redirect your request to the right destination to get to the server. Your router usually can be connected to multiple other networks. And your router is going to receive your request, and your router's main job is to forward your request to another destination that gets you closer, or to the right destination, or to a network destination that's closer to the destination server that you're trying to get connected to. So every time you are trying to have access to a device that is remotely located, so it's not connected directly to your computer, your network, your computer basically, or your device is going to send that data to the router, and the router will take responsibility to it's not going to send it directly to that device, but it will take a good decision, the right decision, to make sure that your request is going to get to the destination. How is that going to be done? We'll talk about that in a different video. So one of the things you should know, when we were configuring those devices, if you go and click on the IP configuration, you'll notice that the default gateway here is set to be 192.168.101. And if you do the same thing here, you'll find the exact same. Oh, that's a mistake. This is supposed to be 1. So I fixed it now. And this is supposed to be 1. It is 1. So I got all these devices here with the default gateway is that number. Now, what is that default gateway? The default gateway is basically, if I disconnect this end and I connect it back, it's this interface, Gigabit Ethernet 00. This address, this is a port, should have the address of the default gateway. Think about it this way. This is a room, and you're trying to get access and trying to leave the room to go to another destination. That room is protected by a door that has a passcode. That passcode basically is the default gateway IP address. So for you to be able to leave your network and get outside of your network, you need to have that IP address of that default gateway. And that's one of the main configuration things that we do with routers is basically to set those IP addresses. Now, the good thing here is whatever we did with the switch, we basically can repeat it with the router. And by that, I mean assigning, setting up the passwords for the user mode, privilege mode, for the console line, for the VTYs. Those are the normal things. We can set a message of banner of message of the day. We can do that. We can encrypt the passwords. Everything we did here, we can redo it here. We also can set up a VLAN and all these kind of details. But what I'm going to be focusing on in this video is how do I assign an IP address to this end here. This is the Gigabit 0. Let me just put it back again, disconnected. The Gigabit, I'll use 01, for example. You just need to make sure that you know what port you're connected to. And after that, I will show you some information about this router. So to do that, I am going to disconnect this connection from the switch, and I'm going to be moving it to the router, and I'm going to be going to the console. Now we go here, and you go to the terminal, and you click here, and it's going to show you. Routers are a little bit different. They have some sort of dialogue if you want to actually go and configure your device, and they will suggest some configurations, but I don't want to do that. And I always don't recommend to do that. You have to do it yourself and decide whatever you want to do with your device. Anyway, so here we go. This is my router. Now, again, you can change the host name, make it R if you want. You can do all the things that I mentioned in the previous video when we were talking about switches could be done here. So I'm going to skip that part so to make the video a little bit shorter. What I'm going to be focusing on is the interfaces that I have here. We mainly have, and let me just show you that. If I type enable, and if I type show IP interface brief, and let me extend the view here a little bit so we can see. And here it is. You can see here I have a VLAN. I'm not going to work with VLANs here. My main concern is going to be those two interfaces, the G00 and the G01, Gigabit Ethernet 00 Gigabit. Now, it's really important for you to know that which port is connected to which network. In this case, I know that this G01 is connected to this network. So since the default gateway, it's this number here, so I'm going to have to use it. And also, look at this. This is the default gateway that I'm using here, which is FE0801. Also, I'm going to talk about that in a sec. So let's go ahead and do this. Go back here, go to terminal, extend the view. And now let's start configuring those interfaces. So the first thing I'm going to do here is that I'm going to go and type configure terminal. And then I'm going to type interface Gigabit Ethernet 0/1. That's the interface that that's the gate or the port that I'm connected to through the network. Now here's what you can do. Description, and I will say home network. Again, this is not going to do anything, but again, every single network, every single port in that router is going to be connected to a network, so you can describe it. I'm calling it home network here. Now here's what we could do. We type IP address 192.168, it was 101, and then you type after that the default subnet mask 255.255.255.0, and then you type no shutdown. Now after that, immediately is going to tell you that, oh, now it's up. Now, if I close this, you'll notice now this is green. So that basically means the connection before was disabled. Now it's enabled. I can fast forward so this end will realize that. And now I got this end to be configured. I am going to skip configuring this part here because I'm not connecting it to anything. So I'm just going to focus on that part. Let me go back here. And now that I'm done with the IPv4, I can start with the IPv6. Let me exit. Just like in the switch, IPv6 was disabled. For my router to be able to handle IPv6, I need to actually enable it. And the command for that is IPv6 unicast routing. You type that, and now you enabled IPv6 in your router. Now, I need to go back to the same interface. So I'm going to go just 01. You see here, I can instead of typing Gigabit Ethernet 0, I can just type G01. Now I'm in that interface. I can do the following: IPv6 address, and now let me go to my device. Here's my IPv6 address. I'm going to use that, and I'm going to and I'll put it here. And now I do have an IPv6 as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and type no shutdown, even though I typed it before, just to make sure. So here we go. This is IPv6. Now there is something very, very special that I want to talk about here so you'll have an idea about. Now, let me close this and let me go back to those devices. IPv6 is a very, very special type of IP. Now you notice here, I typed that this is the IP address of this machine, but this is the default gateway, which is different than the one that I just assigned. Okay, put that in your mind. And then here's a link local IP address, which I didn't do anything about it, but it was assigned to it automatically. And if you notice here, the beginning of this link local is FE80, just like the FE80. Now, if I go to every one of those devices, you will notice that it will have this link local. Now, remember here from the previous video, I didn't assign those. They were automatically generated. So this is something related to IPv6, and here's how it works. Those IP addresses that I typed here, This is what we call a unicast IP address. A unicast IP address basically means this is the IP address that you're going to be mainly using whenever you want to get connected to the internet or to other remote devices. You can still use them internally. But here's what happened. The operating system that you have will automatically generate this link local IP address. And this link local IP address is going to be used as long as you choose not to use this one, then this one is going to be used. So for the internal communication between all these devices that I have here, they're going to be using, again, the link local IP address. The moment you're going to try to leave your network, that's where you have no choices but to use this global unicast IP address. So now I'm saying, what is this default gateway with the FE801::1? Now, if I go here, and let me just, no, not here, sorry. Let me go here. If I go to the terminal, click here, look what I'm going to do here. I'm going to exit. Now that I set up, and I'm going to exit again, look what exit. Let me just show IP interface brief. And let me show you what just happened here for the IPv4. As you can see here, the G01 has an IP address and it's up and it's up. So no problems here. Let me just repeat the same thing, but this time I'm going to say V6. Now that I have V6, I want you to look, let me extend the view here a little bit, and look at this. This is G01. This is the IP address that I assigned, and this is what we call a link local. A link local basically is, again, as I said, it's an IP address that's going to be generated automatically by the operating system and is going to be used for internal communication between your devices. So the thing is here, this one looks really, really long, and I just want to use and change it if I want to. And again, I have the freedom to do that. I can change this link local to whatever I want. Just make sure whenever you change the link local IP address, don't duplicate link local IP addresses. You're not allowed to have duplicated IP addresses. And what's going to happen usually every time a link local IP address is created and generated by a machine, that machine is basically going to ask everyone in the network, does anyone of you guys is using this IP address right now? If nobody's using it, then yes, you can use it. If somebody just raised their hand and said, yo, no, you can't use it, I'm using it right now, then you will be forced to choose another one. Chances for that to happen is very, very low because we're talking about 128 bits. So the odds here are extremely rare for two devices to randomly choose the same value. So let me go back here. Configure terminal, interface G01, and I can type this IP, let's say here, address, and I will say FE80::1 link local. I think I'm supposed to type IPv6 and link local. Okay, so IPv6 address, and you type that IP address, and you have to specify, oh, this is going to be a link local IP address. Now that I'm done, look what's going to happen if I exit, and let me go back to the show IPv6. Now you see that the link local is changed to be this number. Okay, so this is it. Now remember here with the router, I have to change the IP addresses. Sorry, change the passwords, change the name, encrypt the passwords, save my work, all these kind of details. You must get them done just like you did them with the switch. If you don't know how to get them done, just look at the switch video and you will learn how to get all that done. So let's go back here to the router. I'm just going to copy and save. So copy, running, and then startup, just like the switch, exactly the same. And now I got everything saved. So if I just come here and type reload, oh, not here, sorry. Oh, by the way, if you make a mistake here, you just gonna have to press Control-Shift-6 and it's just gonna terminate whatever it's going on here. What's going on here basically, because this real or whatever I type doesn't exist, my computer is going to try to look everywhere using this IP address, which is what we call a broadcast IP address. Does anybody understand this word? That's what my router is trying to ask here, waiting for someone to send, but nobody's actually going to do anything. So it's just going to wait for a few seconds and then it's going to give up. So instead of me waiting, I'll just press Control-Shift to interrupt that process. So let me just start here again. Reload. Are you sure you want to reload? Yes, I'm sure I want to reload. Immediately after I reload, I'm going to go and show you the command. And after that, we are going to go for testing. So this will take a few seconds. Okay. Now press enter, enable, and then I will just go show IP interface brief. And you can see here I got the IPv4, and now let's go check the IPv6. And now I do have the IPv6. Everything is configured. Everything's correct. Let's go ahead and give this a try for communication. Now, let me close this. Let me start here. I'm going to try with the IPv4 in this area here. So ping 192.168.100.1. And you can see here I was able to get connected to it with no problems. Let me go and try to use the IPv6. Now remember here, we do have two IPv6 for that device, the link local, and we have the other one. So let's start with the link local. Ping FE80:1, and you can see here it worked perfectly fine. Now if I try the actual IP address, which was 2001 DP8 ACAD:A:1. Oops, I think I made a mistake somewhere. Let me just go and check that out. This was the IP address. Well, it should work. For some reason, it didn't. Let me try that again. Oh, it didn't work for a reason. I know that reason. It's not going to work. Oh, actually it worked. Sorry. It looks like I made a mistake somewhere. But I was able to get connected to that device. And you can see here, it worked perfectly fine. Okay, so let's see if I can actually, yeah, I can get the same job done here. Promote. Let's go ping 192.168.100.1, and here we go. All my devices actually are able to get connected to this router. So I'm going to stop at this point. Thank you for watching, and again, consider subscribe and like and share if you want to. So thank you again for watching. I'll see you guys later.